Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. This was so pretty I had to show it to my husband today, and now I'm showing it to you. And as I was out here, I don't know exactly what it was, but there was a feel and a smell of fall in the air. Today is October the 10th. And we are in those days when the garden is beautiful, when it's full as it's ever going to be, because it's soon going to be taken away with a frost. But actually we haven't had any acknowledgement of when through the weather reports that that might happen. So I'm still just going to try to enjoy it as long as I possibly can, because I can enjoy it now that the weather is cooler, and at least the mornings are nice and the late evenings. So, and I don't have to water every day. You want to cut back on your watering so that your plants can harden off the perennials that will last through the winter. Of course, these little coleus or any of the annuals are going to go away. The only way we're going to save those is through a cutting, or if they drop seed and come back. Yesterday I sprayed for those cucumber beetles, and I did the rest of the liquid edging, so I feel good about getting that done. But do you ever wonder how a person can stay so busy and get so tired and still get so little done? Can't believe that took most all of my day. And watering, of course. I had to water outside plants and inside plants. I also noticed a few more things that I need to take in, which I knew I needed to take this little hibiscus in, but by now I'd already forgotten it. And of course, you know, I want to make some cuttings of this Mexican flame vine and save those through the winter and have them out in the garden again next year. But right on down here I found, and also I actually will try to save my geraniums. I'm not very good at that either, but all I need to do is just pull them out and shake all the dirt off that I can get off of them, and just put them in a paper bag and let them stay there till spring. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes they truly will just go ahead and start growing again, leave their dormant stage, and just become a new beautiful plant. But the thing that I did notice that I totally forgot, because it was all covered up over here, is this little chrysander. And there it is in one of my clay pots that I keep them in if I'm going to take them inside. And the clay pots, of course, do not do well outside in the cold. From going from hot to cold, they just won't hardly make it. But I definitely want to bring this little one in. I may do that this morning. So maybe if I get it set on the French porch step and sprayed with insecticide, which I just did, this will be ready to come in, and hopefully I'll get it in soon. And also yesterday I found out that my dichondra had put down a tiny little baby, and it was growing. So I thought, I'm going to take that inside and see if I can save it for the winter. Wouldn't that be great if I could save this and just start all over with one? You know how this one looks. I'll have to go around there and show you, because it's just so It's just amazing how you get a little plant like this in the spring, and then by fall what it looks like. But while I'm here, I also want to say I've got to take my little succulents in, not necessarily today, but soon. And whatever I had in this pot didn't make it, so but I set it up here too in case there was a little plant, another little plant that maybe I wanted to get started for next spring. This is my dichondra that started that small, or maybe a little bit bigger than it, because I did purchase it at one of the nurseries, but it has grown from a tiny little thing all the way to the ground. And I think it's lovely. I always want to pair it with something in that same pretty blue, powder blue color, so that they can just really bring each other's beauty out. And yesterday while I was watering, I also did put some of the redhead coleus in here, and I clipped off some of this little gomphrena in white, the globe flower, and not because it wasn't beautiful, but because it was kind of covering up the other things. And so I put one of the trailing coleus in here, and I think it makes it more bright and more beautiful, and I hope it will make it here, and I think it will now that the weather is cooler. And this is the back side of that little plant, which actually you see as you come into the garden from into the backyard. I also put a little coleus in this, or a big coleus, and I'm hoping that it will root and grow up, or everything I've tried to get to grow up taller in this little plant has not really made it for me because it was too hot for it. But now it's not because it's too hot necessarily, even though we still have some heat in the middle of the day, but it's just because it's newly put in. But it is a little wilty this morning. But I will miss all this vibrant, beautiful color, and I hope to save some of it to have in the garden again next year. If not, I'll hope to be able to find some at the nurseries and be able to purchase them and put them back in the garden. Not only this little plant and this little plant, which this is another one just like it actually, but it just went everywhere, and I love it when it does that. Fills out so prettily. And I put one of these little Sandalina, I clipped off a piece and put in this other side, which was bare. So I don't know if it will make it or not, because it likes to be started in the spring, so it'll have its roots very well established to make it through winter. But I thought it was certainly worth a try, and it might just make it there and fill that little pot totally out. And this little marigold that did almost nothing until just recently is looking so great today. I also clipped off some of the dead stems of some of my roses yesterday, and I decided to come back over here and get this little blue salvia. How beautifully it's filled out since I trimmed it off and let it come back up again. I didn't know if it would have time or if it would do that, but it has, and it looks so great. And I'm going to move this little verbena away from my little frog a bit, so you can, I'm going to take off that dead one there, so maybe another one will come on there also. On mornings like this, you could really sit down and enjoy the garden if you just had time. I've been trying to find time to go see a couple of my friends that I go to church with and see their gardens. At least I want to see Melissa's succulent, and I want to see Tammy's beautiful plants that she's been showing some of on Facebook. And actually, I may get to do that today or tomorrow. Even a cup of coffee would be good this morning. I think it's cool enough. Not that it's cool. It's not cold by any means. It's just got just a gentle coolness, and it's wonderful. And I wanted to show you that this little fencing I put up here just very well may be working, because look at it. I see one escaping right there. Let's see if I can tuck him back in there. Not doing a very good job of it, am I? He's still definitely wanting to go up. But I think he'll maybe be okay there. And look at this other, how this tried to come out right here, but then it tucked itself back inside there. And you can tell this one has tried to splay everywhere, this little stem right here. But it didn't. It decided, well, I'll just go on up. So I think you just have to give him a little bit of a guide. And of course, I'm just, so proud of it that it's working, but I better hold off on that, because you know how things can happen. But right now, it's looking like it may work for me, which is great. And I love all the new changes, and watching the mums or whatever plant happens to be in the garden opening up. I love to see them opening bigger and getting more full and beautiful. And I'm seeing I have another fall blooming iris right here. They bloom in the fall and in the spring. And this little dianthus is something I definitely want to get for my sister too, to put in her front flower bed, because it will, if the more plants you have, the less weeds you're going to have, because I always say where a plant is not, a weed will be. So, but she will love these little, I'd like to get her the perennial kind so that they'll come back each year. And I'm noticing this beautiful, this is called a 4th of July rose. This beautiful little Texas star Onsomnia may very soon put on its golden glow for the fall season. And my little fennel that I started from a seed has grown, and now it's putting on many seed heads, and it's quite tall and beautiful. And I tied up my little golden carrier globe bush. It was just kind of laying down around the bottom of it, so I kind of tied it up because I wanted to manage to be able to be pretty and full again. It was so pretty when our friend Danny came out to see it, and he mentioned it several times, and it was just full of these pretty yellow blooms, and it just looked great. So, and that was in the spring, so I'm hoping that it'll have a chance to do that again this coming spring. And I did have one of the little annual butterfly weed to bloom. And I didn't even know it had came up here actually until it did bloom. And I thought, oh, that's what that is. And this is from a seed from another year, not last year. But I was hoping they would keep going in the garden, and I still hope they will. But this is not a real big showing to get it to do that. But we'll see. I just can't get enough of looking at this little purple salvia, and I'm so hoping that not only will it live for me, that it will be big enough I can divide it and give my friend who actually bought this for me, and then both of ours didn't make it, and so I clipped off a piece, or we both clipped off a piece and tried it in my garden. I'm not sure which one this is, but whichever one it is, I'm hoping that I can get a start of it for both of us, and that, right now I've just got to hope it'll come back in the spring, because I've never had one too. I've had the pink one too, but the purple one, which is such a beauty, such a pretty color, bright and just wonderful, and I hope that it will start getting itself established in our gardens. When I put this little pink salvia here, I didn't know if it would root, but it did, and it's looking great. And look at the pink mullygrass this morning with the sun shining on it. Isn't that pretty? And I will want to take this little clay pot in too. I hope to get all my clay pots inside where they won't do that thing where they get cold and then warm and cold and then warm and just crackle. And I think this is an annual dianthus, but sometimes the annual dianthus will come back too, so we'll see what will happen. And this little canna almost missed its chance to shine, but it didn't, and that's great. And today my plan is to try to come out here and get some of these little tomatoes, and I like them with cottage cheese. And last year I had a painted bunting, a real painted bunting. I saw it, I think, twice, 2 or 3 times that I saw it in the garden, and it was so wonderful, and I was so hoping it would come back this year, but if it did, I missed it. And this little mum is beginning to open also. So this little one, I don't think it's going to have time to make a seed, so but I'll keep waiting and watching for it until I have to bring it in. But if I can't get it to come from a seed, I'll try to save it to put in the garden next year. So pretty. This is called Colosaurus. And my decorative peppers are lighting up with their pretty red color. And right now I only have one bag in the garden, but I will have a lot. This one is covering my little miniature like fountain that has a a little round deal on top of it, and then it has two little birds by it. I'm sure you've seen it in the garden at some point, but I will try to cover everything that the weather, the elements of being out in the elements could cause to my little plants or my little decor. Mostly I'll do the decor. That this one I probably won't cover because most all the resin things will be fine, but the things that are ceramic or similar to ceramic or anything that just will crackle and break, I'm going to try to get those all covered. Oh, look how this has opened up quite a bit more since I went to the back and then came back to the front. Looking good. And I do love this pretty little purple alyssum. The white is pretty too though. But I will try to get some of this purple, I think, started in my sister Jetty's flower bed there in the front. Of course, it's not a perennial, but it does put down seed, and hopefully, for me, it took a couple of years for it to start just filling out and putting its own seed down, maybe even 3. So it may take a little while, but sometimes it takes me a little while, and I can give one to my sister and say, "You'll thank me later," and they thank me later that very same season because theirs just takes off and goes, which is great. I must not forget to take my black lotus plant inside or over here a little farther. I don't know if I can get it from here, but these two little stalk things that are sticking up, they belong to my plumeria, and I do not want to lose them. See if I can find the other one for you. I can't see the 2 stalks. I can only see one, but there it is right there. There's one, and there's the other, and they did not do anything for me this year at all. And I bought some special food for them, and I lost it. I don't know where I put that. I still haven't found it. So, but anyway, I'm going to take it in and try again next year. If I don't miss my opportunity, which I hope and pray that I won't. I want to be able to bring everything in that I can to help start next year's garden with. Now, I took some of these seed and sprinkled them around yesterday when I was working out here. Isn't that a pretty form of a zinnia? This little bright beauty is beginning to open. I think also, though, that's what those insects that I sprayed for, I think they're cucumber beetles. They look like a ladybug, and I call them a ladybug that's, not a lady, and it's not red, it's green, but it has the little dots and looks just like them, and they're not good. They're not nice. They will make everything, just strip it of everything except the little yellow dot inside. There will be no pretty color around it if they get their way, which I'm not going to just give it to them. They have won in past times, but hopefully not forever. And look how this little double profusion zinnia has grown tall. Sometimes they just mound up and make the prettiest little mound, but I think if something tall is growing beside them or a stake, they seem to want to grow tall and get in competition with that little stake beside them. This is a penta. And it looks like my aster has quit for the season, but just that one little moment of bloom, or those maybe 2 weeks where it's just shining purple blooms with a little yellow center, it just, I love it enough to wait for it and let it just be green all the rest of the time. And I think maybe the hummingbirds have all gone, but they'll be back next spring, I think. I've read that they do come back to the same places. They even remember some of the same flowers if they're perennials that come back every year. And when I trimmed the seed heads off of this, I did get one and put inside for just to save for seed, but I went ahead and threw the rest of them away. But look what I found behind it that was hidden all season long. I've seen the top of this, and I think I'm sure this is the only one I have of this particular color, and it's so pretty. But also I found this one. I knew I had a begonia over there, but I had not seen any blooms on it. I was going to try to dig it up and save it, and I still will try to do that, but it has a beautiful pink bloom. And as the garden is such an example of our own lives, it's just another little example that even as the season goes by, and pretty soon will be over for these little plants, there's still surprises and beauty in life. And I did not get this little dew or ice plant started well enough for it to do like they normally do, because they just take off and go everywhere. But I will want to try to bring some of this in and save it. And talk about going everywhere. This little ice plant or dew plant that's like the other one, only it's not variegated, but look how far it has gone. So I'll want to save some of that too, of course. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.